Hi, welcome to the video. This is a kind of an extension of open hours. Open hours is something I do. It's a publishing call that I have once a month where authors and people interested in publishing can join and ask questions, kind of how we do things at Good and True Media. And hello, I'm Jonathan Scallon. I'm an account executive here at Good and True Media, and we basically help. We're a Christian publishing company that helps unburden the self-publishing process, and we'd love to interact with you if you've got a manuscript in hand that you're looking to bring to life and make a beautiful book. So here, this is gonna something new series. We're gonna have questions that come up in these open hours, and I'm gonna share these questions with you in hopes that they help you in some way. So the first question is a huge question, and I've got it written down here. It's always a bit, how do I know if my book is strong enough to even publish? And I think there's three things that come to mind when I think of this. One, you got to ship your art. If God has inspired you and He's put something on your heart, if this has become a natural talent for you, you've created something, you spent years wondering, is this even good enough? Um, Sometimes you just got to be faithful and put it out into the world in some form or another. It might not be a bestseller, but it might be a seller enough to target the audience that you're looking to target. And a lot of what we do at Good and True Media is talk through with customers. Do you have an audience around you, a social media audience, a network, community? A lot of families at church that if you did a small print run, could you get it out to those people in your community and move through like a batch of 300 books, for example? Because not every book is going to be this huge bestseller, but I think if you've been called to write and you have a completed manuscript, you need to ship your art. I often relate this to music because I like writing music. Is my music good enough that I'm going to go on tour and be a popular, famous singer? Nope. I don't believe it is. Right. One of my songs says, I'm not Bob Dylan, but I sing with what I got." That's a lyric in one of my tunes. But like, I felt called that my songwriting. I like the songs that I write, and I feel like they might connect. So, for example, I put a song up a bunch of months ago, and that evening someone said, "I stumbled upon your song, and this really helped my night." Nice job, whatever they said. But it was like fact that like you got to ship your art because your art might inspire someone else. Your art might change someone's life. And so that can all be discerned and talked through, but that's one example. Two, is it good enough to publish? I would, you have friends and family are going to read your manuscript, but I would also think about finding people outside your circle of friends and family to see if you can get professional opinions from people that have that are doing similar things, just to get ideas and see what their feedback is, whether they can read some of it or all of it. I think that would be helpful. And the third I have written down here. Yeah, we kind of talked about in the first answer, but who is your audience? What is the intended audience for your book? And think about, is your book filling a need with that audience that maybe is not being filled? Maybe there's only one or two books. I've had some clients come to me with some full manuscripts, and I've done some research before our discovery calls, and I'm like, wow, I can't find a book that speaks to this in this way. So you have a leg up. That's something to think about. Like you have this angle from a different perspective. Um, so those are some comments I would say about is it good enough. I think that what's on my heart is if you are an inspired writer and you have a completed manuscript, you've done the hard part of putting all that together in some form or another. You need to ship your art, whether it's publishing or whether you make a podcast series out of that story or whether you do blog posts about it. You start what do they call it, a Substack. Find a way to share your art with the world because that's why you created it. Don't let it sit somewhere. So if publishing is the avenue, then we'd love to talk to you. Second question that comes up a lot on these calls is, do I need a full manuscript before reaching out? I can't speak to other publishers. How we work is, yes, it typically helps to have a full manuscript. If a manuscript isn't completed at all, if it's not even started, but if it's not done, it's hard to even give estimates and create a custom quote without having final word counts, without knowing if you're providing illustrations or doing some of the cover design, or if you need editing. All of that needs to be talked about on a call. So if the manuscript is not written or it's only partially written, it becomes more of like a cart before the horse. I know even in our parent company, they go by manuscripts. They want a completed manuscript as well. It's not, they will not do a lot of speccing on just ideas for a future book. So something to consider. Other publishing companies might have it different rules about that, but yes, with us, it does require a full manuscript because it helps us work with you to know, what are you going to need to make it a finished, full, beautiful book, and what, and helps us determine how to get to that like custom quote for your project. And the final question I'm going to talk about today is, what does the publishing process look like from start to finish? This is kind of a long-winded question. Essentially, we get presented manuscripts. We determine if the manuscripts are on brand with us and also on content with us. We're looking to see if the content aligns with our principles and if the book also is on brand with what we're doing on Good and True Media. There are times where projects come across where it might not quite be on brand for the Good and True Media website, but the content in the book we're completely aligned with, we love. And so we can still work with clients. Once we determine that, we try to set up a discovery call. We try to talk through with clients everything they think their book needs or we think the book might need to make it a beautiful, wonderful, finished book. All the different services that go into it. What are you going to bring to the table with the book? What professional services you need from us? We usually try to give an estimate. If clients are interested in going further than that, that brings up a proposal that we kind of can walk through on a future call. If there's no proposal revisions and a client wants to move forward, we do a signed agreement. Then typically you get introduced to our development lead, who basically manages the project with you. They're bringing in all the talent that you asked for help with, all the professional services you've asked for. We've got a talent roster that we're bringing in that talent. They're doing the work for you, and then they're presenting it to you, and you have to give it the thumbs up, the green light to move on to the next step. So you're part of that process. And then we do that all the way to a finished print file. Then the file, once you give the thumbs up to the print file, everything goes off to the printer. Usually can take 2 to 3 months for the books to come into stock. And once they're in stock, the book will be visible. If it aligns both with brand and content, it's on our Good and True Media website. If your book aligns just with content, you have a dedicated author page that we set up for you where you can promote and direct people to buy the book. And those websites are backed by our storage, fulfillment, and distribution services. And all of that is laid out in a proposal very transparently and clearly. You can see it all and what the costs are for everything. But from start to finish, that's it. And along the way, the whole process, from signed agreement to books in warehouse can take 6 to 9 months, depending on how fast teams can work back and forth through the services that clients are asking for. And then once the books are in warehouse, our storage, fulfillment, and distribution services last a whole nother year. So you have a good, usually, year and a half from signed agreement to start promoting your book and marketing the idea to your book and directing people to where they're going to be able to buy the book. So hopefully that gives you an idea of like what that process looks like from start to finish. But again, I'm Jonathan Scallon. I'm with Good and True Media. Hope to see you on the next video. And if we can be a resource to you, we'd love it. And happy writing. Continue to write. And share any comments below you'd like, especially one of the questions I always ask clients is, what does your writing process look like? Like, what is your habit? What is your ritual when you write? And what hasn't worked before for you? Is going to a bookstore or a coffee shop not working for you? Throw a comment below too about that. But again, hope to see you on the next video, and thanks for watching.